Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about decks that I am selling and why, and all of these decks that I talk about today will be listed for sale in my Etsy shop down below. So if you're interested, check the link in the description box. And yeah, we're just going to talk about it. I'll show you the decks. I'll kind of talk about if there's anything like wrong with them or why I am selling them, things like that. That's pretty much it. I am just in a place in my life right now where I am prioritizing different things. Oracle and Tarot is a huge part of my life, and it's not going to, stop being a huge part of my life anytime soon. I'm trying to clear some room out for new things. Now, I'm not getting rid of a bunch of decks today, but these have been in my purgatory forever, and I finally have the supplies to ship them out. So I'm starting here. I'm going to work through my collection a bit more, add some more items to my purgatory. I feel like a lot of other people, when I found my spiritual path and I found out Tarot and Oracle decks were even like a thing that existed, I kind of went a little bit crazy in the beginning buying decks that I wasn't sure if they would work for me, and I kind of found what does work for me, and I feel like most of the time the things that I buy end up being decks that I can work with. I kind of know what is going to work for me and what's not. So I've gotten to a point where I have too many decks. I was working with some decks the other day and I was kind of like, I could never use these like in my whole life, you know what I mean? If I really wanted to spend a significant amount of time with decks. And lately I've been literally using like one tarot deck and, playing around with some different oracles, but literally for the most part, one tarot deck. So I don't need all of these decks, right? And I'm just trying to minimalize my life a little bit more in all aspects. I'm kind of finding out what's more important to me. And I love having my collection, but it doesn't need to be as big as it is. And it's hard for me to let go of decks because at the time that I bought them, I wanted them very badly. And even if I was making uninformed decisions in the beginning, it was still like a purchase I consciously made, So I have a hard time letting go of my things, especially because of just things from my past. I like to have my stuff and it not to be taken away from me. So yeah, but if they're not getting any use, then I would like to maybe get a little bit of my money back for them. Now, all of these decks besides one are mass market, so I will be looking at what these are selling for on Amazon and selling them for cheaper than that. So just a heads up. So we're going to start off with the Quantum Oracle. This is one of the ones I bought kind of in the beginning. I do really love the artwork on this deck and the concept behind it. I bought this back when I wasn't really good at reading tarot yet. And this is a great alternative to tarot because it's very predictive. It brings up a lot of different topics that, if you don't know how to read tarot, is really helpful. Let's see. There are quite a few cards in here. I don't know if it's going to tell me. 53. So, I don't know. I feel like at the time that I was learning tarot, I had a lot of oracle decks, and a lot of them are just very, I don't know. You guys know how oracle decks are. They're not always predictive, and this one was a little bit more like a tarot deck. But again, I love tarot now. I can read it proficiently, so I don't really need something like this. But it could be a really good deck even if you read tarot and know tarot to clarify things. I love the artwork. It has kind of different sections. But yeah, just not getting use in my collection. But I really was attracted to the idea of it. So that one's going to be for sale, the Quantum Oracle. Nothing against this deck. Again, it's just something I don't use. So next, we're going to talk about the only indie deck I have. That is the Lilly Tarot. This is the first edition. I have found some different price points for this deck since it is out of print. This is the only one that's not going to be cheap, essentially. I have, again, found some different prices, and I'm going to price it kind of in between some things that I've seen it go for. And then if, you know, it doesn't end up going, then I'll lower the price. So keep an eye out if this is something you want. But this is the Lilly Tarot by Marion Constantine. And I wanted to love this deck. I was so attracted to it when I bought it. But it doesn't, I don't read with it ever. I do have a hard time. There are some, and I guess in the new edition, which is, I think, the golden edition, that's the one that you can buy nowadays. She has put the number of the card on here because sometimes it's hard to understand what card you're looking at. This is the Four of Swords, I think, but that's supposed to be the four, and I have a hard time with it. I love the artwork, though, on this. I love the watercolor. It's very, like, emotional, but I don't think I've even read with this deck once. The cardstock is this really beautiful matte cardstock, and it's a smaller size than a typical tarot deck. Really beautiful, just not something I use, and it's just sitting here collecting dust, and so I'd rather it go to somebody that's going to really love it. Like, is that the 6? 1, 2, 3. Or the 9. 9 of Swords. Yeah, I don't know. A little hard for me to read. But I think it's really beautiful. I kind of like the abstract nature of it, but I have other decks that kind of feel like this and fill that abstract nature for me that just work a little bit better. And usually I like that in like an Oracle deck, not really a tarot deck. So yeah, this is the first edition. I have shuffled it a few times. I don't think I've ever read with it. The box is a little bit dinged up. It came to me this way. So, but just a heads up, it comes in a tuck box. So you're not going to get, it's not going to be like a hard box, but yes, I will be selling this for a little bit of a higher price because it's out of print, but nothing compared to some of the prices I've seen out there for it. And again, if it doesn't end up selling at those prices, I will lower it. I just want this to go to somebody that'll actually love it because it is a gorgeous deck. It's just not for me. Hello. That's cute. So that is the Lilly Tarot. Everything else that I am selling is mass market. My dog is click-clacking around, so sorry about that. All right, talked about that one. Next up, we have the Legendary Ladies Goddess deck. This deck is a really beautiful deck. It's just not my aesthetic personally. It's very Disney, and that's just not what I like to look at visually all the time. Of course, I love Disney movies, but it's just not my personal aesthetic, and I have quite a few goddess decks, and I just don't use goddess decks very much all the time in general, so this one's kind of, it's not getting used. I kind of kept it around as like, well, maybe if I have a kid, I can read for a kid, but it's just, I mean, I'm holding on to it for something that may never happen for me, or I don't know if I'll have like a daughter that would be interested in this, or I don't know. So keeping it around for a reason that's just not, I don't know, it's just not practical right now. I do have other kind of kid-friendly decks, and so, you know, I could use those. You know, if I ever wanted to, I could repurchase this. This is a mass market deck. It's easily available, but I just don't use it. And again, I have other goddess decks that work better for me. I can't remember the name of it, but my favorite goddess deck that has the name of the goddess and like a keyword is Guardian of the Goddess or something like that. I'll put it up on the screen. It's a indie deck, and I love that deck. And it's very much my aesthetic with like the black background. This one is just not. But it has a really like wide variety of goddesses. But it's just not, visually my favorite deck, but it works really well. I have used it. I have other decks that I want to look at. Like, reading Oracle and Tarot for me is a very visual thing. So when I'm laying out the cards, this is just kind of jarring for me, the artwork. But I do love it. Objectively, it's not my aesthetic. I think it's a really good, cute deck. So I like that the cards are a little bit longer. It feels really good in the hand. The cardstock's good. It's just visually not my favorite, and it's just sitting there collecting dust. So yeah. Okay, next up we have the Modern Witch Tarot. So I actually love this deck. I love the artwork on it. And so I ended up buying the German version. But this deck is really unshuffleable for me. Now, I feel like if you are a beginner, this deck is perfect. If you're not really like learning to shuffle in the beginning, or if you only want to shuffle like this deck is perfect for that. It's very sturdy, so you're never gonna have to worry about it like getting messed up. I feel like it's even waterproof. I've heard people say that. The images are so clear. I feel like if this would have been one of my first decks, I would have been able to learn tarot a little bit easier. I mean, it's a perfect mix of like modern and witchy and RWS. It's a perfect RWS clone. It's all female, so if that makes a difference to you. But the cardstock for me is just, it's impossible to shuffle this thing riffle, which is how I like to shuffle. But even if you just have this as a study deck, I don't need it anymore in my collection. But if you wanted it as a study deck, it's a really beautiful deck to have as like your first deck, just to study, to look at the images, and it's usable if you shuffle like this. So yeah, it just doesn't work for me. And again, I have the German version, which I have cut down to where it's just the images and it's shuffleable for me. So I still have this beautiful artwork if I want to use it, but there's no point in me having this one if I'm not using it. Now, I did get this through Amazon, and there was this weird like staining on the deck. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, it was like a oil almost. So that was like that out of the box. I have no idea. I remember being really weirded out. I cleaned it off. The cards were untouched. They were wrapped in plastic, but just keep that in mind. The box is a little bit beat up and weird. It does come with this little extra card that says everything is fine. The guidebook's really good, but just a heads up on the box on that. And again, this will be sold for less than what I paid for it, like significantly. So yes, so that's the Modern Witch. Next up, this is a little deck pairing that I have. This is the Rune Tarot. I have this deck. I love this deck. I have a second copy of it because Amazon messed up the delivery of my order, and so they sent me another one. But I don't have a box for this one because I took the box from the original one, or from this one, and the original one was like torn to shreds, so I don't have that one. So this is going to be sold with just the cards and the book, the big book. I'll include a bag for it, just kind of a simple bag so you have something to put it in. But yeah, again, this will be sold for less than what the like big box set is, and you get this big book with it, but you'll pay less. So yeah, I think you can buy just the cards with like a smaller book, but I am selling the nice big book with this unopened set of the Rune Tarot. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to price it at, but again, I'm going to look at prices, what things are going for right now, and then sell it accordingly. So again, I love this deck. I just don't need 2 copies of it. So here is some of the artwork. Really beautiful. This guidebook's really amazing as well. Okay, so that's that. Next up, I have the Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards. I love the back of this deck, so I'm probably going to take a picture of it just to have. The tactile experience with this deck is just not it for me, and it's never worked for me energetically with like the readings I get with it, but it's really beautiful. It has chakras attached to each card, and that's why there's colors around it, and then it just has really good keywords, so you don't have to bring in the chakra part of it. if you don't want to, you could just use the keywords. It has really good keywords. It's just never worked for me. And again, I don't like the tactile of like the thicker cards, just personally. I have other decks that kind of serve this purpose of having a lot of keywords. This one just doesn't really work for me. And that's a cool card. I haven't really played with the guidebook. I've heard that it has like weird stories and stuff in it. Yeah, it's kind of like a storybook, not really a chakra book. So I don't know. Just doesn't work for me. Really cool deck though. Like, I want it to work for me. I wish I would have just used it for the keywords, but it doesn't really, the readings I've gotten from it have never really worked out for me super well. Next up, I have the Enchanted Oracle. I have never like really seen this on many people's channels before. It has a big guidebook by Barbara Moore. And it's essentially just like fairies and goddesses and stuff. It's a small little deck. This just doesn't work for me, or it reads me to filth in a way that I don't like. I think it's really pretty. Like, I was looking at it today when I was taking pictures of it, and I think it would work really well with like my steampunk tarot, which has been the main tarot I've been using. But it just, like, aesthetically it would look beautiful, but it doesn't work for me. It's like kind of an archetypal deck, fairy, goddess deck. That's a beautiful card. Just doesn't really work for me. I wonder, is this made? Let me see. No. Okay. I thought it was illustrated by the same person that did the steampunk, but it's not. Because that literally looks like the star card in the steampunk tarot. But it has also, yeah, the Yule, some Sabbath cards in there, which is cool. It just doesn't work for me. Comes in this really weird box. The box was kind of beat up when I got it. It's kind of a weird setup, so just keep that in mind. But I will be cleaning these off if you see dust and stuff. I'll be cleaning them off and making them look as nice as possible before they get to you, but yeah. All right, last up for sure, what I'm getting rid of. This is the Good Karma Tarot. This is such a beautiful deck. I bought this as kind of a replacement for the Modern Witch because the cardstock's a little bit better and easier to handle. It's a modern deck. It comes in like one of those tray boxes. It's a modern deck. That's the backs. But it's easier to shuffle, and this is really beautiful. I think this one also has male and female, so if that bothered you about the Modern Witch, this is a good option. It just depicts the cards in a really clear, beautiful way. I love like the different hair colors and the tattoos, and it's just not my personal aesthetic. I don't know, for example, like I just got the Haptic Tarot. Like, I just love things that are a little bit more neutral toned, I guess. Beautiful. And I tried to get this deck to work for me, and I would always get like the Tower or something like that. Like, it just, I don't know, just didn't work for me. And it just sat there. But I think, and then the quartz, like I know Lisa Pepez has talked a lot about this deck. The quartz are really beautiful in this. It kind of gives you a more like, I don't know, it's very active. Like, the person in the court card is doing something, so you can kind of like get more of their personality. So that's cool. Really good beginner deck. Knight of Wands. Like, you see him with a backpack, like he's hiking. I love that. I might go through and kind of take pictures of the quartz just to have as like a reference, because they're really good, but just, I don't know. It's just not for me. This, oh, I love this card. I'm going to take a picture of this. This is like one of the things that made me buy it. Come on. She has the pink hair. Beautiful. Just not for me. That's really pretty too. Aesthetically, like, I can appreciate the artwork and I think it's beautiful. If I was into like really modern, beautiful, poppy colored things, then yes. You know, like I love pink and I do have a lot of pink in my house despite everything else being kind of neutral. So that does call to me in my heart. Look at that little cute pink purse. It's just, I don't know. There's some other things about it I just never use. And then we have this beauty with the pink hair. So what I really love about this though is it has a good karma tip. So even the like harder cards per se, let me see if I can find one. 5 of Wands. Detachment is not that you own nothing, but that nothing owns you. So it kind of gives you a positive spin. I love that Ace of Swords. Look at that. That's beautiful. So I love that. I have another deck that kind of does that, so I don't need this one necessarily. But yeah, I am a little sad looking at it. I love the artwork on this. Again, like objectively, I think it's really pretty. But I never use it. And somebody out there will use it. Right? That's cool. But I think there's a lot of cool reference cards in here. Again, I'm going to take pictures of just so I have. It's really, I think it would be really beautiful for client decks, again, or a beginner, because the picture really tells a story of like, okay, well, these two people look like they're having fun, partying. Like, it's very much that. She looks very sure of herself in the Queen of Wands here. So I love that. I love this on the jacket. There's that Ace of Swords. That's so pretty. I love the eye. Anyway, just could go to somebody that wants to use it a little bit more. The cartoony in this is not my kind of cartoony. So yeah. All right. So those are all the decks I have for sale for right now. I have some other ones that as I was going through my purgatory, I was like, I'm going to try it one more time. Give it a little bit of a last go, try to actually read with it, because I feel like a lot of the decks I got rid of in the beginning I didn't read with. It just aesthetically they didn't work for me, and I've learned since then that sometimes if things don't work for me aesthetically, they still work for me in a reading sense. Pretty much all of these I have worked with and tried to work with in an active reading, and they just haven't worked for me. So yes. Stay tuned. If there's some more listed, then that means I decided against them. But keep an eye out. I will be posting some more videos, selling some more of my decks. And then I have a video upcoming that is kind of going to talk about maybe saying goodbye to YouTube for a little bit. So anyways, if you're interested in any of these decks, please check the description box, and I will be getting them shipped out to you pretty soon. They'll be in the mailbox this weekend. So today is Tuesday. I go down to town on the weekend, so they will be in the mailbox on this weekend and on their way to you. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!